Hey everybody, it's Positivity Power Hour. I'm Jessica Miller-Merrill, the founder of Workology, and I'm so excited to be here. I can't believe it's Thursday already, Thursday 2 Central. This week is just flying by. Some days it feels like the weekend, and other days it feels like a weekday. I want to talk about one thing that's going on with me this week, and you might be experiencing. I know we had the toilet paper shortage. Well, now we have a flour and egg shortage. And so I've spent the last 2 weeks on the hunt for flour, and I finally broke down and bought some flour from a local bakery, and I got a 50-pound bag of flour, 50 pounds. And so this 50-pound bag of flour is in my kitchen, and I put a note in a local Facebook group, and so I've gotten 15 pounds of flour off my hands. I do not need 50 to some neighborhood folks. So instead of dealing, drugs, I'm dealing uncut, 100% pure, unbleached flour in my neighborhood. So I'm thankful that I'll be able to make some maybe some pretzels this weekend and do some therapeutic baking, because that is kind of my my therapy. I hope you all are doing well. This Positivity Power Hour is going to be a little bit different, and I'll explain why in a second, but I will say that this is interactive. So if you are in the Zoom or you're in the Facebook, feel free to post a note or post a message. But if you're in Zoom, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up so people can hear you talk, because my guests would like some interaction and activity. So if you don't want to talk, you can put yourself on mute, but I'm going to open up the floodgates here in a minute. So don't be going to the bathroom and flushing the toilet on my show. All right? Yeah, I'm just saying. So this Positivity Power Hour I mentioned is different, and I thought I would bring on my good friend, Anne Fry, to talk with us about stress and anxiety and just living in this uncertain time. She has been opening up her time to talk with people in her Facebook community, and I thought let's bring her on here. So I'm going to go ahead and welcome in Anne Fry, and Anne can talk a little bit about herself, maybe your background, and then I'm going to unmute people while you're doing that. Sounds good?
Okay. So they just hear me; they're not looking at me.
They are looking at you if they're on a video. So yeah,
Oh,
they can see you too.
I know it's kind of hard to be, like jumping up, passionate, and kind of cheerful when we're in such a tough time. But I wanted to find a way to blend it today. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I mean, back in the day, I'm old, so I was a lot of things. I was a special ed teacher. I was college professor, still am. I was a clinical social worker. Then I started coaching people, particularly managers and executives and people in transition. So that's kind of a thing. And somewhere along the way, I did a lot of speaking. In the speaking, I came up with this whole topic about humor in the workplace. So having fun and being silly is part of my nature. But like the rest of you, this is a very challenging time for me too. I'm in that high-risk population and being very, very cautious about not going out very much and doing all that, following the rules. Still am amazed at how many people are not doing that. So we're going to look a little bit at a few things. I've got some notes over here, so if you see me looking in that direction, it's because I prepared with some notes to make sure we covered what we wanted to. I could call this meeting time dealing with adversity or chasing away the blues or engaging your sense of humor in challenging times. All of those would fit. So we're going to talk a little bit first, and then I'm going to open it up at certain times and say, what do you have to say about that? For me, it's been, it's been tough, and I'm not living in my normal apartment. I'm out in the boonies living with my significant other. We have a place there and a place there, and so we're learning how to be in the same place and both working at home. But I can tell you that the physical responses to what's going on with the virus is a lot of things. Finding it hard to wake up, being lethargic, having poor concentration, finding it hard to do tasks. I'm used to it. I've worked at home for years, so it's easy for me to get up in the morning and do what I do and do my work. But for a lot of other people, they're not used to that. maybe feeling a lot of craving, like you were saying, craving to have some flour and to do some baking. For me, it's chocolate of any kind, if I can find chocolate. But I'm gluten-free, so I have to be really careful about what I put in my mouth. So we have all these feelings that are romping around with us. And I don't know, it's just hard to get things done. Some people just want to curl up on the couch and watch movies. Some people want to sleep a lot. And you can think of where you might be in that place. But that ultimately is not good to do for very long, because that pulls you further down. And we don't want to get to the point where we're in a place of, really having the blues or being depressed. Anxiety is another thing. We're going to talk about that in a second. So look, first question is, how many of you do find yourself being kind of in a place where, I just don't have my mojo going. This is kind of weird being at home. And anybody care to make a comment about that?
Anybody can unmute themselves, and if you don't feel comfortable talking on screen, you can certainly put it into the chat box. Let us know, are you feeling like you're curling up in a ball in bed? I mean, what are you doing to cope, or how you're handling this right now? Please share. Let's see if we have any. Nobody yet. I mentioned baking. I've also been gardening, which I personally do when I feel like I need to heal. And it was one of the things that I did when my life felt completely out of control after I had my miscarriage. So I kind of decided like that was really therapeutic, and I should get back into that. So I have been doing that. Yeah. Anybody want to chime in live? Unmute yourself. We have a couple comments in the comment box if you want to address those.
You want me to open the chat box?
Yeah, I can read them too if you want.
I can open it, I think. Okay, there we go. So, feeling in a funk a couple of weeks ago, it was difficult to get motivated, and walking and meditation helped me. That's really great. We're going to get to more of the things that are positive in a little while. Self-motivation is a struggle. Making a regular and consistent schedule seems to help, but it's still a struggle. Lots of small breaks help too. I think those are both excellent ideas. We don't quite know if you're not used to working at home or being at home, or maybe being a young mother with kids and you're at home, and you're more used to that than we are, those of us that are out and about all the time. So already I'm seeing solutions. I like that. It shows what a positive group this is. All right, let me move forward a little bit. So, when you feel like life knocks you down, the biggest thing that's knocking you down is the fear. So it's obvious that there's a lot of fear, involved in this. And where are you vulnerable? Well, we're all vulnerable. There's all the things that we can do to take care of ourselves, and yet you just never know. You can cross hairs with one person and something. I had an incident the other day. I was out walking the dog, and she's on a leash, and she's a small dog, but she's very friendly. And so she sees a dog across the street. That dog wasn't on a leash. That dog comes running into the street where we were, because it's kind of rural out here, running out. That dog is very obsequious, lays down on the ground like he or she's going to be the subservient one, or submissive one, and my dog's there. Meanwhile, that wasn't the issue, but her owner came running over, leaned down to get her. We're all down there, and he's breathing like 5 inches away from my face, not in an aggressive way, but trying to get his dog, and he's right there, and our space is invaded. And in that moment, the possibility is that if somebody has it, you can get it. And that's the vulnerable times we live in. So doing all the right things is wonderful, and yet there's the chance, forgetting to wipe things down before you bring them in the house and having bought them in the store. I'm not great at that, So we all feel vulnerable and fearful. I mean, the fearful part is this going to personally impact our lives, whether it's ourselves or somebody that we love? I know that I have a grandson who's a year old, and I can't see him now. They just feel like I'm too big of a risk to be around him. He'd be pretty safe, but they're not sure that they would be, So we're doing Zoom with a 1-year-old, we're doing Zoom calls. Not Zoom, we're doing, FaceTime calls so that he'll keep knowing who I am. So does anybody have anything to say about, some of the vulnerability that they might feel? Let's see. Self-motivation is a struggle. Making regular and consistent schedules seems to help. We said that one. Have a schedule that I have for each day and lists of tasks and projects I want to get done. So you deal with those feelings by putting yourself in some kind of a structure, is what that sounds like. And I think that's a really great idea. And, we'll continue to talk a few more things. So what's really important, too, is that we have support and that we get buy-in. So perhaps some of you live alone. And that can be a little bit more challenging, obviously, if you're alone and you're not used to just being in your house alone and you're used to going to the gym or going to classes or going out networking or having meetings in person. You need to find support. Who are the people that are there for you? Whether you get on FaceTime, whether you do a lot of emailing, whether you actually get on a phone and just talk, like this. And ecologically, finding ways that you can be outside and getting some sun and not being stressed out about it. So I know we try to take the dog for a walk every afternoon, except like today it's going to rain. But because when you're out on the street, there's not that many people here. We can pass and we don't feel like we're not close enough for any germs to get to us. But we'd go nuts if we just stayed in the house all day long. And so gardening, I think what you said, Jessica, is a really good idea. Let's see. I think having a willingness to just sort of do things, whatever those things are. The idea is where you want to get to as a place of resiliency. That's the word. How are we resilient? And so the pure definition of resiliency is the power or ability to return to the original form or position after being bent, compressed, and stretched. You could see that emotionally that would fit with us, the ability to recover readily from illness or depression. Overall, the ability to bounce back. And when I teach, Jessica's been a guest lecturer for me at St. Edward's. When I teach on resiliency as part of my class on leadership, I tell everybody to get a rubber band, I don't have one out right now, and put it around their wrist. And whenever they need to remind themselves that this too shall pass and that they can bounce back, I tell them to flick the rubber band against their hands, because rubber bands go back to size, go back to the way they are. They never get out of shape. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting very out of shape being in the house and finding a lot of time to eat. I'm not baking, but eating. So what do we have to do? What does it take to bounce back? That's kind of where I want to focus the rest of our time together. And we've heard a couple of other comments here. Let's see.
Let's ask him a question. What question do you have for them? They seem shy. You guys don't necessarily want to get on and talk, but you're good typers. So let's give them a question.
Yeah. So give them a question, or
yeah, so they can share.
Oh yeah. Okay. So here's the thing you can share is, what do I do to help myself bounce back when I've been feeling really crummy or scared? Want me to type that in there?
Yeah, so what do you guys do to bounce back when you feel crummy or scared? Let us know in the comments what you're doing.
Typing, probably typing.
Yeah, it's okay. While y'all are typing, what I do is, outside of gardening, I think I'm just trying to take more breaks and be mindful that if I feel this way, and then just being okay with, maybe leaving the room for a little bit or going and spending some time by myself to decompress or pick up a book and read.
Yeah, that's important. Self-care, a hot bath, a walk, talking to my partner, taking a nap. Yep. Spending time in nature, good ideas. All right, I'm going to throw another one out here, and it's sort of hard to fit, but I wrote a book several years ago about Laughing Matters, the value of humor in the workplace. And so we're not talking about the workplace today unless you're working at home, but that's not our topic. Humor is a huge key for dealing with whatever's going on. So I want to go into that for just a few minutes. It decreases anxiety, decreases stress, it increases productivity, it increases your energy, it gives you more motivation, it facilitates learning processes, and it gets into your body and you release endorphins because you start laughing generally with that. So it's a very, very part of your life. And what I wanted to do was spend the rest of the time talking about, what do you do in the realm of enhancing your sense of humor, and part of that is how you get healthy, the physical match to the humor. But what do you actually do to laugh and to lighten up? Like, I know for me, I love funny movies, so we can easily go on Netflix and find a funny movie to watch. We have a little dog, so playing with the dog makes me laugh. I have great rapport with my significant other, so I don't know. We just say funny things and make each other laugh. But some people have other ideas. What do you do that makes you happy? What do you do that makes you laugh that you can still do while you're probably working at home? What are some of your...
Ashley says that she's been watching a lot of comedy specials. That's good. I dove into a couple months ago accidentally, and they keep coming up on my Facebook feed, mostly when I have insomnia, is these like 3-minute clips from like Comedy Central. And some of them are really funny. So I think a comedy channel watching specials is a great way to get a little humor in your life.
Yeah, they've been showing some I Love Lucy series, the old I Love Lucy's, and it just absolutely tickles me pink. Another thing I do is when I'm on Facebook is I try to pass on kind of funny things or sometimes put something out there myself that will get people tapped in. Because if all you do is, wring your hands and wonder what's coming next, you're not adding to your own resilience. But if you find ways to entertain yourself, read a great book, read a funny book, read a comedy, listen to a book on tape. I'm really good at doing that. I probably spend way more money on Audible than I should because books on tape I love it, especially when I'm driving. So here's some ideas. Color, music, hobbies, activities. Color is wonderful to bring into your life. I think every few days I go back to my own apartment and get some stuff that I need out here because I'm hunkered down to stay out here. And I've got coloring books and crayons. I'm going to make sure I bring them back here because they're great to do for me. I just really like that. It's a childhood thing I love. Hobbies, what you like baking and you like gardening. You just said that. Who has some other hobbies? Let's see here. Mine are the same. Funny movies. My husband has my same dark, twisted humor. So we make each other laugh a lot, laughing at the kiddo, the dog. We're seen dancing in our living room. We do that too. We dance in the living room. Sometimes have a glass of wine before or after we do that.
Agreed.
And connecting on the phone. So music, hobbies, activities, helping others. What are you doing to help others that makes you feel really good and brings a smile to your face? Whether it's just engaging them in a fun conversation with them. What are things you're doing with your kids? I've been seeing more jigsaw puzzles on Facebook than anything. All the people that are doing these.
I know. I bought one. I haven't had a jigsaw puzzle in a number of years, but we have one on our kitchen table right now.
Yeah, that's not one of my favorite things. But
yeah, board games have been really good at our house too. I have an 11-year-old, so it's been great to get her involved. And so we finally pulled out the board game that I bought everybody for Christmas that we hadn't used yet.
Yeah, that's really, really great. So, any more ideas that you want to share about that? Shani, yours was the last about Saturday night. The overall message is that each one of us is responsible for creating our experience of how we deal with this. Some people can, just stay in bed and, wring their hands and be scared all the time. And I've had my moments, as I watch some of the, by the way, watch less news, by the way. Watch less news. I do watch some because I want to be current. I want to know what's going on. We started watching a little bit more of our local news, so they tell us if there's anything we need to know rather than the national news, which scares anybody to death, right? So the first thing is the death count. It's like, thank you very much. So finding ways to pull out of that. I think if you have kids, they can teach you, if you've forgotten how to have fun, they can teach you how to have fun. I mean, my 1-year-old doesn't know how to, my 1-year-old grandson doesn't know how to do that yet. His dad is already pretty old and lives in his own house. My boyfriend / significant other, he's got 2 grandchildren, and we get on the phone with them sometimes because they're 11 and 13, I think. So that's kind of fun. but kids will bring it. And I know your daughter is a great part of your life and
Yes.
probably brings so much out of you, even when you're kind of worried or this isn't going right or that isn't going right. Because you're working, there's frustration that sometimes goes with working. So anything that you can do that will offer you that kind of separation from whatever's going on in your brain, that's what I'm thinking about. Any other ideas? Let's see.
Yeah, feel free to share your ideas. One of the things I love about Anne is, she is an executive coach, and she's just multi-talented, but she also has experience and a history as a therapist. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring her on, because she kind of understands, well, I know she understands the world that the HR professionals are working and living in. But then she really understands it from the point of somebody who is a therapist that can help us work through challenges and feelings and situations that we might be having, or people on our teams might be having.
Yeah, right. And so you can use anything that I said to you. You can use those examples when you are perhaps talking with someone, in your HR capacity, and they come to you with the idea that they're really having a hard time with this. You can remind them that there are other ways that they can deal with that. I can put together some kind of a one-sheet giveaway or something if you want to give it to them. With some
fun. I can send it over. So let's say that we are experiencing anxiety and stress right now. You mentioned dancing, humor, anything else that you recommend that we might think about trying to help reduce that those feelings?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the quiet side too, going within and meditating or listening to visualizations. People are, buying into the whole tapping movement where people do. I haven't checked that out lately. I've done that in the past. So the quiet things are helpful, and, sitting in a quiet position and taking time by yourself. But the other side, allowing your goofy self to come out, really your goofy self. And Jessica, we know each other not long, about a year and a half or two now, but well, and we both have that side, and it's good to see, and to remember to take time to make fun of yourself, everybody, because I laugh the most at all the things that I just don't know how to do technologically, and so I'm very grateful to people like Jess that will help me figure that out. I wanted to make one more statement that's a little more serious, and that I went through a period in my life where I lived in New York for 10 years as a single woman in my 60s. It was a great adventure. I had a blast, and most people thought, wow, that's a big step. And it was a big step, but I loved every minute of it. Even there was a year and a half period of time where I was living up there and I was by myself, and I had breast cancer and went through chemo and went through radiation. And some of my favorite things to do, besides sleeping, because it knocks you out for a while, but some of my favorite things to do, I lived in a neighborhood in Manhattan where I only had to walk a couple of blocks in each direction to go to a movie theater. And so that wasn't shut down like we're shut down, but it was a pleasure for me to go to a movie and sit in the big screen. So make your living room, if you have a big screen, turn out the lights, pretend like you're in the movies, make popcorn. That was a big thing for me. And then lastly, don't ever forget to be on the phone, in touch with the people you love or the people who entertain you. And so many things are being shown in special on Netflix and all that. They're showing Broadway shows, they're putting on concerts, opera. All of the entertainment arts are showing free material online where you can feel. I mean, I went to the Metropolitan Opera there many times, and when I watch it on the big screen here, I feel like I'm in the opera, and if you like opera. But the rock and roll bands and everything is at your fingertips. That wasn't quite as much true when we're talking about 10 years ago, and I was living, in the city, and we didn't have this where we were isolated. I was isolated just because of my inability to be outside very much. And so I say, if I can go through that, and maybe some of you have as well, you can find a way to get yourself through this. It's only going to be another few weeks, and then we're going to be able to start being back out in the world, being in direct contact with people. And then, just just love the ones you're with. Be with your families, love them, whoever you get to see or don't see. Like I said, if you can't be in person with them, get them on the phone. If you have aging parents, make sure you attend to them lovingly, because they're pretty frightened. I can tell you it's scarier for us because we know we're in a higher age. So I hope this was helpful, just to get you thinking about the lighter side as well. And whenever you think of the lighter side, it doesn't mean that you forget that there is a dark side, but you can kind of play it away a little bit for a while so that you're not in it 24/7.
Well, thank you so much, Anne. That's Anne Fry. And where can people find you? Do you have a website with resources and information about you?
And go to Anne Fry, that's ANNFRY, AnneFry.com, and they can read about me there. And there are some blogs there. There's some blogs that they can read, in Workology for sure, that I've written, particularly about the workplace and cancer. Jessica's given me a great opportunity, and I'll be blogging more, of course, but how do you deal with all that in the workplace? So I don't have, that would be a good idea maybe to put up a list of ideas for people trying to get through this. I might make a separate page. And maybe that's what I would get to you as well, ideas for people.
Yeah, please do. And then we'll put it out. What I was thinking that we would do with your advice is roll this into a podcast episode too, so that people can continue to hear the resources and your professional suggestions and personal suggestions, having gone through, experienced a number of situations through your own life too. And then in your work with your coaching and therapy business.
Yeah, I think I'll make a one sheet of tips, from my perspective, and have that available on my website, and make sure that you get that so that you can put it out there.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. What are you guys going to talk about now?
We're just going to kind of close it out. I want to talk about a few things that are going to be happening in the couple weeks. We had music on the Positivity Power Hour a couple different times. We have some new musicians lined up and artists for the future. I believe we have a yoga instructor who's going to walk us through some breathing exercises in the future. I think it's going to be really, really fantastic. The goal of the Positivity Power Hour is just to give you, even if it's just 30 minutes of something that's focused on the positive, and we're giving you tools and resources to help arm you in a positive way to get through this, and know that we're all going through this together. I am an activator on my Strengths Finder, so this is my way to activate, to try to help the community and also myself deal with all the things and the situations that are happening to all of us. They're similar, but different. But I do believe that we're in this together. So I encourage you to take some time, like Anne said, to call your friends and family members, maybe check in on loved ones. Give people grace. I was at the nursery, like I said, and this was another story. I went to the nursery this week to pick up some items before we're really not going anywhere for 2 weeks, no human contact, and they messed up my order. And, it was a little bit disappointing, and I was upset because they weren't organized. There wasn't really great communication. And then the woman came out to talk to me, and I had to think for a moment, she's going through something too. And she looked like she was going to cry. And, I've been there. And so, as people, I gave her some grace, and I encourage you to do that too. We're all going through this similarly but separate, and we each deal with things that are happening in our lives in different ways. I don't really need my flowers today. I can wait a couple days to get them, and that's just fine. She's like me, a small business owner, like Anne is. We're just trying to survive out there. So I want to support small business, and we can do that a number of different ways and support each other. So that's what the Positivity Power Hour is all about. Thank you to Anne for stopping by and talking with us. Thank you for you. We had a number of people who are online here live through Facebook, and then also here on the Zoom. I appreciate you. We are going live every Thursday at 2 p.m. until this is over. We're going to get through this together, and this time is just focused on how we can help bring each other together and lift each other up during this really uncertain time. So I appreciate everyone for coming and joining with us today. We'll see you next time.